As tensions rise between global powers, the skies have become the latest battleground. In response to U.S. President Donald Trump's announcement of a 30% tariff on European Union imports, Brussels has fired back with a bold countermeasure, a 35% import tax targeting Boeing fuselages and Honeywell avionics. This is not just about aircraft, it's about shifting the balance of power in global aviation. With Europe striking at the very core of American aerospace dominance, the question looms large: will this move force Washington to back down, or permanently tilt the scales in favor of Airbus? Inside closed-door meetings in Brussels, thick policy binders labeled Tariff Response Package A surfaced mere hours after Trump's July 12 announcement. At the top of the list, Boeing and Honeywell. The EU had clearly identified America's aviation industry as its most vulnerable asset. Boeing's passenger aircraft and Honeywell's flight control and avionics systems were selected as primary targets. With a 35% tax on Boeing components and a 20% tax on Honeywell systems, the plan was clear: strike where it hurts. Not only would this increase purchase costs and delay deliveries, but it would also make financing Boeing aircraft less attractive. For many European airlines, the decision to turn to Airbus suddenly became easier. Airbus, still holding 60% of open delivery slots post-2026, stood ready to fill the vacuum. The scale of this retaliation is massive. According to data from 2024, Boeing delivered nearly 285 aircraft to Europe, with discounted sales revenue around $24 billion. Honeywell, supplying critical avionics and components for 68% of these planes, earned $7.5 billion. Brussels' calculated move to impose taxes equivalent to $11 billion, a figure nearly matching these revenues, is a direct economic strike. The consequences ripple beyond Boeing's factories. Dublin, Ireland, home to major aircraft leasing firms, faces a deep disruption. 4 out of every 10 Boeing aircraft in 2024 were financed through Irish leasing companies. A 35% tax threatens the financial models that sustain this ecosystem. As demand shifts toward Airbus, leasing commissions and financial returns in Ireland are set to decline. The fallout doesn't stop there. The Netherlands, with Amsterdam Schiphol Airport serving as a Boeing spare parts hub, is staring at decreased orders and inventory pileups. Higher interest rates on unsold stock could erode profits. Luxembourg, heavily reliant on Boeing 777 freighters for its cargo airline fleet, could see leasing rates spike by $28 million per aircraft, causing significant strain on fleet renewal strategies. Ironically, while these European nations brace for collateral damage, it is America's own industrial heartland that may suffer the most. Boeing's plants in Washington, Missouri, and South Carolina already feel the heat from a weakening euro-to-dollar exchange rate. Now, the 35% tariff adds another $7 million per aircraft to the cost for European buyers. Faced with this spike, many airlines may reconsider their Boeing orders entirely. Airbus, recognizing this moment of opportunity, is accelerating production plans. A new line in Spain is scheduled to open by 2026, alongside its existing plants in France and Germany. Major airlines like Lufthansa, KLM, and Iberia are rumored to be preparing to shift their orders from the Boeing 737 MAX 10 to Airbus's A321 XLR. Even Ryanair, long loyal to Boeing, may reconsider future orders depending on how the tax changes affect final costs. What began as a political tit-for-tat may end up permanently altering aircraft preference across Europe. Beyond the aviation giants, Honeywell is now facing its own storm. While it supplies avionics to Embraer and Dassault too, it is Boeing that forms the bulk of its European income. A 20% tariff could cut Honeywell's revenue from $7.5 billion to $5.4 billion, threatening thousands of high-skilled jobs in Arizona. With Trump pushing an America First jobs agenda, such a domestic backlash could be politically damaging. Honeywell's R&D capabilities are also under threat. A drop in revenue means less investment in next-gen flight control systems. Boeing, too, needs Honeywell's systems certified by the FAA. Delays in avionics development could slow the certification of new aircraft, adding to Boeing's woes. And while planes dominate headlines, other industries are also caught in the crossfire. Bourbon whiskey, once targeted during the 2018 steel tariff crisis, is back on the EU's radar. A 35% import tax would make Kentucky's famous bourbon bottles uncompetitive against European rivals like Scotch and Cognac. The agricultural impact is equally concerning. Kentucky corn farmers, whose contracts support whiskey production, could face canceled deals. In addition, environmental compliance taxes are being eyed for IBM engine control computers and GE turboprop units, subcomponents integral to Boeing aircraft. The result? A compound blow across America's aviation tech ecosystem. Brussels is not acting blindly. According to WTO rules under Article 22 of the Marrakesh Agreement, retaliation is legally permitted when prior warnings are ignored. The EU will wait 90 days after notifying the US, after which it will implement the full package. Boeing's lobbyists will likely scramble to reverse the decision, pushing Congress and the White House to reconsider. But Trump may fear that backing down would project weakness. Meanwhile, within the EU itself, political maneuvering is already underway. France, Germany, and Spain, all key Airbus stakeholders, stand to benefit from a shift in orders. They are expected to support the tax plan. The European Innovation Fund is even earmarking €1 billion as a green conversion grant to help airlines absorb the new taxes and transition their fleets. Honeywell executives are also scrambling. At a recent closed-door Wall Street briefing, their avionics director warned that 3 in every 10 systems sold annually go to Europe. A sudden 20% tariff means an extra $900,000 per unit. That could drive European buyers toward French suppliers like Thales or Collins Aerospace. If Honeywell loses these contracts, the French avionics ecosystem strengthens, shifting the technology edge to Europe. Airbus already leans on Thales and Safran. Brussels may be quietly engineering a domestic supply chain advantage. For Boeing, the most vulnerable front is the 777X long-range twin-aisle program. Lufthansa, Emirates, and Singapore Airlines all have orders pending. If Lufthansa faces a 35% tax, its delivery block could surge from $14 billion to $19 billion. That would force the German government to either offer tax rebates or cancel the deal. Airbus's A350, while fully booked until 2027, could gain from any reshuffling in demand. The pressure may also push Airbus to break its slot lock rule under political pressure to absorb Boeing's market share. In America, workers on Boeing's lines are now hearing phrases like lost jobs instead of protected industry. Even Turkish Airlines, previously a buyer of the Boeing 787 Dreamliner, may reconsider future purchases based on shifting cost-benefit equations. The damage doesn't end with aerospace. Bourbon exports, totaling over $700 million annually, face collapse in the EU market. A 35% price increase makes them unviable. Kentucky senators are already bracing for backlash from local farmers and distillers. If EU retaliation is fully implemented, the economic blow to the US could be staggering. Boeing's impact in Washington state alone is $70 billion annually. A 15% drop in orders would erase over $10 billion. Honeywell could lose $2 billion. Kentucky's bourbon industry and agriculture another $1.2 billion. The first-year total loss, around $11.7 billion. While Washington hoped to intimidate Europe through tariffs, it may have inadvertently started an economic boomerang. By taxing Boeing and Honeywell, Brussels may force a reconfiguration of global supply chains and investment flows, ones that could favor the European industrial base long after the political winds shift. This trade war isn't just about numbers, it's about national strategies, regional pride, and the shifting center of industrial power. As the US tightens its grip with protectionism, the EU's counterpunch could land squarely in the heart of America's aerospace empire. UK Logie will keep watching the skies.